Kính thưa quý vị, hôm nay RFA có cuộc trò chuyện với ông Robert Silas, là con trai út của ông Major Raymond Silas, cố vấn trưởng tiểu đoàn 37 Biệt động quân Việt Nam Cộng Hòa, người đã tử trận tại núi Thọ, Quảng Ngãi vào sáng sớm ngày 22 tháng 11 năm 1965. Khi mà cha mất thì Robert mới có 3 tuổi thôi, nhưng mà hình bóng người cha thì chưa bao giờ phai mờ trong tâm trí của ông suốt 53 năm qua. Và cũng vì cái chết của người cha mà ông đã tìm hiểu về cuộc chiến Việt Nam. Và hôm nay thì ông sẽ chia sẻ những suy nghĩ của ông về cuộc chiến này. Mời quý vị cùng theo dõi. We are happy to have you here, Robert. And first of all, I would like to say that I'm sorry about the loss of your father. And do you remember about your father? Like the last time you saw him or the last time you heard from him?
Well, thank you very much for inviting me. I really appreciate this. It's an honor to be here. In terms of your question, I do remember the last time I saw my father. We were at Fort Benning, Georgia, and he was leaving for Vietnam. We were at the airport. My mother, my brother, and myself, and my dad hugged us all, and we watched him board the plane for Vietnam.
And you were only 3 years old, right?
Yes.
So that's the last time you saw him?
That's the last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you heard about him? You heard about him like via the letter or phone or something at the time?
Yes, my dad wrote 7 letters to my brother and I from Vietnam.
Okay. And
During
you
the course of his time
You
there.
still keep it?
We still have those letters, yes.
Okay. And have you ever visited the place where your father was killed in action?
I haven't visited, but I know where it is. It's in the Quang Ngai province, in a village called Tak Tu, very close to the coast of the South China Sea.
Oh, okay. So on the mountain, Long Life Mountain?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you have any photo about that, or because
Yes.
you have someone in Vietnam took photo for you?
Yes, there was several soldiers that I was in contact with over the years, and they gave me photographs of the battlefield and of the area in general. So I do have quite a few pictures.
Yeah. And you know about when your father was killed?
Yes, I know about the battle. It was well documented on 22nd of November, and they were attacked by a North Vietnamese regular regiment. They were in a position, in a battalion position. They had about 465 soldiers, but they were attacked by a regiment of 1,500 soldiers. But they won the battle, and the 37th Bien Da Quan also got the United States Presidential Unit Citation from President Johnson.
Okay. And so many argue that the sacrifice made in Vietnam is wasted. So what do you think?
Well, I think I think freedom, first of all, is always worth fighting for. And my father felt very strongly about the duty and commitment to the work that he felt must be done in Vietnam, so the people of South Vietnam could determine their own destiny.
So that's the first time your father came to Vietnam?
Yes, he volunteered 3 times. He was a professional soldier. He was a graduate of West Point, so he felt very strongly about volunteering, and they kept on denying him. And finally, he went to the Pentagon and convinced them to send him to Vietnam, where when he got to Saigon, he found out about an opening with the 37th Ranger Battalion, Bien Da Quan, and he took a position as a senior advisor to the battalion commander.
Oh, okay. And, in the last 43 years, so the Vietnamese government, on the occasion of April 30th, always tell people that it was resounding victory over the mighty American empire. So what do you think is a fair way to say about the war?
Well, I think it's a very complex war. It was a limited war because not only were we fighting against North Vietnam, but also China and Russia, who were funding the war. And it was limited because at the time, and they also have nuclear weapons now, but at the time they had nuclear weapons, meaning China and Russia. So we had to be worried about escalation, and the losses were significant. The South Vietnamese lost 275,000 armed forces. They also lost 465 civilians, 250,000 People perished in prisoner of war camps. Untold numbers of people were killed fleeing in boats.
Okay.
2 million were driven from their own country. And then on the north side, their losses were as high as 3.6 million. So I think that's important to remember that, their losses were staggering on both sides. And this is, one country seeking reunification. And also, I think another point to be made is that the North violated the Paris Peace Accords that were signed in 1973. And what that agreement basically did is redrew the lines in the country to what they were in 1954. But the agreement was signed in January, and as early as March of that same year, the North violated that agreement. So I don't think there was any clear victory in this war.
Yeah. And do you know something happened in Vietnam after the war? Yeah.
Well, after the war, there was, as I mentioned, it was terrible atrocities. Many people were killed by the North, and as I mentioned, put in re-education camps.
Yeah.
A lot of people there do not have, enjoy the freedoms that they once did.
Yeah.
Prior to, the invasion of the North into the south of Vietnam.
Yep. And President Donald Trump, he had the decision to make March 29th is the day of Vietnam National Vietnam War Veterans Day. So what message do you want to send to the Vietnam veterans for both sides, Americans and Vietnamese?
Well, I'm extremely proud of our Vietnam veterans and the sacrifices they made. Extremely proud of the South Vietnamese veterans. I'm particularly sensitive and very heartfelt for the South Vietnamese veterans that are still in Vietnam because they don't have the medical benefits that we enjoy here. So I feel very bad for their families. Mm-hmm. And I also, feel bad, of course, for the families of the 58,000 Americans that were killed in Vietnam. But really feel very strongly that the poor South Vietnamese soldiers in Vietnam, that they're just suffering there. They just don't have the care that we enjoy over here. So
Yes.
I feel very bad for them.
And if you can send a message, can you send any message to any people like you? That means they lost their father in Vietnam. You want to send any message to them?
Well, I think, as I am, that they should be very proud of the sacrifices that their fathers made, and as I mentioned, I think freedom is always worth fighting for. This was a very complex war, and there's many factors went into it, but I think that they should feel proud.
Yeah.
This was a one battle in the context of the Cold War, and in the Cold War it was also a very long war from started in the 1950s and ended in 1991, and so this long war in Vietnam was just part of the Cold War that was fought and won eventually.
Yeah.
In 1991.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much for sharing, and we appreciate what your father did for Vietnam.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.